Hello, and my intent jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. Ooh, that reminds me. But do me a favor and hit that like button or you're grounded, young man. Or the two young women that watch this. But, ow, Menards. I had to. That's the only time I'm doing that this video, I promise. But we have got the Guidesman fracture from Menards. So let's take a look at what we're holding, because it'll bother you if I don't. And you know I love you. So, first things first and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. We have got the black G10 right here. We got a flipper tab. Let's flick the bean. And we have got 3.35 inches of D2 steel. Now, these things are $22 on the Menards website, so if this looks like something that you're interested in, you may want to go ahead and scoop one up. They're not terribly expensive. And of course, 20 bucks for D2 is not anything to turn your nose up at. You know, and if you like pocket cleavers and you're looking for something cheap, like a beater to throw in your toolbox or something, this is kind of hard to argue with. But you know, whenever we got this thing out of the package, I took a look at it, and there were a couple of things that raised an eyebrow or seven. First off, this thing looks really, really cheap. This looks like a truck stop special. This looks like something you find in your buddy's toolbox. This looks like the most interesting thing on the shelf at Home Depot, for example. It just looks cheap. And as much as I hate to say that about something, you know, it looks really cheap. And of course, the action on this is tighter than a nun's skiddly boot, but it does centrifugal open, which I was very, very happy to have. That's the only way I opened it all week long. And we did carry this for the week. That's what this video is. I forgot to mention that, but I am a hair scrambled right now, so bear with me. But you know, the cheapness on it did give me some qualms about both the heat treatment and how the edge was going to perform. One thing that's worth noting, if you can see here, is they bit into the plunge line on both sides a little bit when they were sharpening it, which is also the mark of the beast with a cheap knife. But, you know, the factory edge on this thing did really well. The plastic wrap on the pallets, if you're cutting through that and you go through the middle where there's a bunch of layers, a decent edge will cut it pretty clean. That the very bottom where there's that single layer, if you got edge problems, it'll hang up and tear. And this thing actually did a really good job with that. The edge is just toothy enough where it really bit into that and cut smoothly. You know, a little bit of hang up and tearing, but nothing bad. Areas that didn't have as much tension as other areas, it hung up a little bit, but areas with good tension on it, it blasted right through it like I was cutting nothing. So it did really good with that, and I fed it some cardboard, and it was some fairly beefy cardboard and some fairly long cuts, and it handled those more than well enough. I did not feel like I was struggling to control the cut or anything along those lines, so it did really well there. Now, let's take a look at where our edge is sitting so that you guys get an idea what's going on there. And you can kind of see right up here where it took a little bit of beating, but nothing terrible. A little bit of tearing on that, pretty ragged edge. So that front little third right here is where we see the most damage. So that's where we're going to test on the electronic edge sharpness tester that you guys kindly provided through your super chat donations, your channel memberships, what have you. I'll always be grateful for that. Let's get a fresh clip for this bad boy. And fret not, dear folks, I have ordered more of these, so we shouldn't have any issues with that as soon as they get here. But hopefully they get here before the last live stream, or the next live stream. So let's go ahead and everyone stand back. I'm arming the boy. All right, come close. It's safe. It's safe. Okay, we got a 206. So the 206 is not starting as bad as we have seen other knives after a week of carry, even though these things see light, very intermittent use. It's not often that I get to really, really thrash one because of the environment I'm in, which is why we do our Cardboard Slayer live streams. But that's not the worst we've seen by a pretty hefty margin. Now, this does suggest that the heat treatment is pretty decent, given that it came from the box sharper than D2 that I've had with a absolute donkey of a heat treatment. And it held on to that edge a little better than a lot of other knives we've seen. We've seen knives drop from 170 to like 220, 225, 230. So seeing this drop down to, what was it, like a 183 is not bad at all. it's not bad, and I hope that we have a good heat treatment on it. Like, I am tired of getting D2 with bad heat treatments, and I think I just had a run of bad luck there. But this will be going in the box for a random roll live stream, so that, you know, we're going to throw the D20 of Destiny, and we're going to see if we get it anytime soon. But, of course, the next live stream, we're finishing off the Worksharp RMX, so you guys tune in for that. That's coming up in a couple of days here. But, you know, the carry experience, you know, one of the other concerns I had was the fact that the dingus end of the pocket clip isn't terribly raised up, and it might be an issue getting it over the hem of a pocket, which wound up not being a big deal. We do have a pretty strong pull on this pocket clip. Not angry about that. I think I remember giving that about an 8 out of 10 earlier, and I'll stick with that, about 8 out of 10 on that. And you notice it's fairly flat and reasonably thin. So this carried in the pocket really well. I had no issues whatsoever with that. I barely noticed it was there. Getting stuff out around the pockets was not a big deal. It was just not a big deal. It stayed flat and it stayed mostly out of the way. And the fact that I'm not carrying my keys in my pocket with the knife anymore means that we're not getting brass deposited all over it, which is good to see because we're going to be carrying some much nicer stuff in the very near future. But, you know, overall, it was actually a really decent experience. This is the kind of experience I'm looking for out of some of these really cheap knives whenever we find them. And of course, this was a gift from a friend of the channel. He was really insistent on seeing this thing on the channel, and he made it happen for us. So let's say thanks to our mysterious benefactor. Again, make no mistakes, this is not going to be a regular thing. However, friend of the channel, he's been around for a while, and I was willing to work with him on this one thing this one time. And it's also worth noting that the action is on plastic washers. We've got the white nylon washers in here, and if I remember right, it looked like one was bigger than the other the last time I took a look at this. But they may be a little oversized and just kind of down here and up here on this thing, which isn't the end of the world. It still works. It's still centrifugal opens. It's not a big deal. But, you know, it's definitely a pleasant experience. Like I said, this is the kind of thing that we're always looking for on the channel, is stuff that is very affordable that will serve you well over the course of owning it. So, yeah, I mean, all in, I'm actually really happy with this thing. The looks, not a big deal. Like, it's one of those things. I showed one of my friends that's not really a knife guy, and he was completely unimpressed, just did not care. He's just like, oh, yeah, okay, here you go. Because he'll ask me what I'm carrying each week, most weeks, and I'll show him. But this one he was not impressed by as far as the looks go, and I can't blame him. But aside from the looks, I can't really find a major fault here for $22. I mean, it's really hard to argue with. Now, if I come back to you later and it's an absolute donkey at Cardboard Slayer and the heat treatment's bad, that's a whole other kettle of fish. But, yeah, overall, pleasantly surprised. So, all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. I'll keep coming in. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We got live streams, regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. That one guy is really excited now. And of course, I have got my Amazon store linked off. You don't have to use it. It is the easiest way I've found to show you the cool stuff I've found over the last couple of months here. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.